Ladies and gentlemen, as we age, we grow wiser, or at least we should, because with age comes experience. But with age also comes the necessity of understanding our surroundings, our relationships, and the people we let into our lives. Today, I want to share with you something deeply important: the 5 people you must avoid in old age, even if they happen to be family. First, let me say this: family is precious. It's a bond that is meant to be a source of strength, support, and love. But not all family members are a blessing in the later years of life. Just as we need to care for our bodies and our spirits, we must also be cautious of the company we keep. The toxic critic is one of the most detrimental individuals you can have in your life, especially in your later years. This person's primary goal seems to be to constantly find fault with everything you do, and in doing so, they chip away at your self-worth. They have a way of turning every accomplishment into something insignificant, every step forward into something that should have been done differently. The toxic critic doesn't encourage growth. They stifle it by focusing on what's wrong rather than what's right. Their words, often veiled under the guise of advice or concern, serve to diminish rather than elevate. In the autumn of life, we all need encouragement. The journey we've traveled has been long, filled with struggles, triumphs, and lessons learned. At this stage, we are entitled to be surrounded by individuals who celebrate us, who see the worth in what we've done, and who remind us that we are enough. Instead, the toxic critic finds fault in every step. They will never be satisfied, no matter how much you do or how hard you try. If you've been through a difficult period and finally find a sense of peace or success, the toxic critic will remind you of past failures or potential pitfalls, eroding the small victory you've worked so hard to achieve. They never see the glass half full. It is always half empty. Their words become like daggers, and their criticism, though sometimes wrapped in the appearance of caring, feels more like a weight that drags you down. As the years go by, we don't need this kind of negativity. We need affirmation and kindness. A person who constantly points out your flaws without offering any support for growth is not a friend, no matter how close they may be. The toxic critic will always leave you questioning yourself, doubting your worth, and feeling as though you can never measure up. It's important to understand that their criticism says more about them than it does about you. The toxic critic may be dealing with their own insecurities or bitterness, projecting them onto those around them in an attempt to make themselves feel better. They are often incapable of offering genuine support or praise because they are consumed by their own negative outlook on life. They may not even realize the damage they cause, thinking that they are helping you by pointing out what's wrong, but in reality, they are only eroding your confidence. At any stage in life, but especially in old age, you need to protect your mental and emotional health. You've earned your peace and the right to enjoy the fruits of your labor, and surrounding yourself with people who criticize constantly robs you of that peace. The toxic critic is a drain on your spirit. Their voice becomes a constant reminder of your perceived shortcomings, and over time, it wears you down. In the end, their presence is harmful and unproductive, and it's important to recognize that it's okay to distance yourself from people who continually undermine your sense of self-worth. The envious complainer is a person whose presence in your life can do far more harm than good, particularly in your later years. This individual is never satisfied with their circumstances, and instead of seeking ways to improve, they constantly express discontent. What makes their behavior particularly harmful is that they have an uncanny ability to diminish your joys, making your accomplishments seem trivial or insignificant. Whenever you share a triumph or good news, they are quick to bring up their own disappointments or challenges, often overshadowing your moment of happiness with their own bitterness. It's as though they can't bear to see others succeeding while they feel left behind. The envious complainer is consumed with jealousy, and instead of celebrating the positive aspects of life, they are focused on what they lack. In the autumn of life, when we have had the time to accumulate experiences, raise families, and build legacies, we need to be surrounded by people who bring joy and encouragement. The envious complainer does the opposite. They drag us down with their negativity and their refusal to see the blessings in their own lives. The problem with this kind of person is that they not only refuse to celebrate others' successes, but they often make the people around them feel guilty for experiencing joy or contentment. Every time you achieve something, no matter how small, they turn the conversation back to their own struggles, as if your happiness is somehow a reminder of their own shortcomings. They will complain about everything from their health to their finances. And the worst part is, they will often make it seem as though they are entitled to the same blessings you have received. The envious complainer can make it hard to enjoy life fully. When you're in their presence, it feels as though the air has been sucked out of the room. What should be a joyful occasion becomes a moment of discomfort because the complainer is constantly highlighting what is wrong rather than what is right. Their bitterness becomes contagious, and before long, you might start to feel guilty for your own happiness or successes. The envious complainer thrives on this dynamic, as their self-worth is often tied to how they perceive others in comparison to themselves. Instead of working to improve their own situation, they choose to focus on what others have that they do not, which only breeds resentment. We've all encountered people like this, individuals who seem incapable of recognizing the good in their own lives, no matter how much you try to remind them. The envious complainer is never satisfied with their circumstances, and no matter how much you try to offer support or advice, they only see the negatives. They rarely ask about your life or take an interest in your well-being, instead opting to focus solely on their own problems. In the later years of life, this constant cycle of negativity can take a significant toll on your mental and emotional well-being. Being in the company of the envious complainer can make you feel as though your own happiness is something to be hidden or ashamed of. And in old age, when you've earned the right to enjoy the peace and contentment that comes from a life well lived, this constant stream of dissatisfaction can make your remaining years much harder than they need to be. The envious complainer is a person who can never truly share in your joy, and that alone is reason enough to distance yourself from them. The self-centered user is one of the most draining individuals you can encounter, particularly as you enter the later stages of life. This person often presents themselves as caring, as someone who is interested in your well-being, but their true intentions are far from genuine. They have an uncanny ability to seek out what they can gain from you, whether it be your time, your energy, or your resources. The self-centered user is a master of manipulation, carefully constructing their interactions with you to ensure that they are always on the receiving end of your generosity. They are skilled at making you feel needed, at making you believe that your help is essential to their happiness or success. Yet, despite all that you give, they rarely offer anything in return. In the autumn of life, when energy and time become more precious, it is crucial to recognize those who only take and never give. The self-centered user does not seek a balanced relationship. They are only interested in extracting from you without ever considering how they can support or nurture you in return. You may find yourself constantly being asked for favors or help, but when you need assistance, the self-centered user is nowhere to be found. They are masters of making promises that never materialize and of offering excuses when it's time to reciprocate. Their entire relationship with you is transactional. They give only when it serves their own interests and take as much as they can while avoiding any real responsibility. What makes the self-centered user even more dangerous is the fact that they often disguise their intentions under the guise of friendship or family loyalty. They may claim that they have your best interests at heart, but their actions reveal a different story. Their primary focus is always on what they can get from you, and they will use your kindness and generosity to their advantage. Whether they ask for money, time, or emotional support, their requests seem endless, and they never seem to reach a point where they are satisfied. The more you give, the more they take, until you are left drained, physically and emotionally. You may find that the self-centered user never makes an effort to truly understand you, to know your needs, or to offer anything of value to your life. They may show up only when they need something, but when the roles are reversed, they are nowhere to be found. This kind of person creates an imbalance in relationships, taking more than they give, and leaving you feeling used and unappreciated. Their lack of empathy and consideration for your well-being is glaring, and their self-serving nature becomes more apparent over time. In your later years, when you should be surrounded by those who appreciate you and offer support in return, the self-centered user will continue to take without hesitation. They offer little in the way of emotional or practical help when you need it the most. Their presence is a reminder that not all relationships are healthy, and that it's important to recognize when someone's intentions are purely self-serving. At this stage of life, you should not have to carry the burden of someone who is only interested in exploiting your generosity. The manipulative enabler is a person who can subtly and gradually lead you down a dangerous path, often under the guise of support, care, or concern. They will encourage behaviors or decisions that are not in your best interest, all while convincing you that they had your best intentions at heart. This individual feeds off of your vulnerability, and instead of helping you grow or make wise choices, they encourage you to stay in unhealthy situations or make decisions that ultimately harm you. They might push you to engage in risky behaviors, whether they be related to finances, health, or relationships, and make it seem as though it's for your own good. The manipulative enabler never challenges you to grow, but instead they reinforce your worst habits and keep you dependent on them. In your later years, when you should be focusing on your well-being, peace, and stability, the manipulative enabler acts as a force that keeps you from making decisions that would improve your life. They may encourage you to take on too much, overextend yourself, or act impulsively without considering the long-term consequences. In their presence, there is no room for thoughtful reflection or careful planning. The manipulative enabler does not want you to gain the strength or wisdom to make your own choices, because that would take away the control they have over you. They may disguise their actions as being helpful or as being a way to protect you from harm, but their true motive is often rooted in their own desire to keep you dependent on them, ensuring that they remain needed in your life. They often make you feel as though you are incapable of making decisions on your own, or that their guidance is absolutely necessary for your happiness or success. Instead of offering honest feedback or constructive criticism, they only tell you what they think you want to hear, even if it leads you astray. The manipulative enabler doesn't have the courage or integrity to help you face difficult truths or to help you confront uncomfortable situations. Rather than giving you the tools to stand on your own, they keep you in a state of dependency and confusion. This constant state of manipulation leaves you unsure of your own judgment and unable to make decisions without seeking their approval. What's even more dangerous about the manipulative enabler is their ability to disguise their actions as care or concern. They may appear to be looking out for your best interests, but in reality, they are only seeking to control the narrative and influence your choices to suit their own needs. They create an environment where you feel obligated to follow their lead, even if it means making poor choices that ultimately harm your well-being. Over time, this can erode your self-confidence and make you doubt your ability to make decisions independently. You may begin to rely on their judgment over your own, and as a result, they hold an unhealthy amount of power over your life. This kind of person does not want you to grow or thrive. They want to keep you where you are, dependent on them for validation, direction, or support. It's easy to fall into their web, especially when you are in a vulnerable position, but the manipulative enabler's influence can have long-term consequences. Their presence in your life will keep you from experiencing the full freedom and peace that you deserve. Instead of empowering you, they work to undermine your ability to trust yourself, leaving you stuck in a cycle of poor decisions and dependency. The absent friend is someone who may once have been close to you, but over time their presence in your life has faded. They are the ones who only show up when it's convenient for them or when they need something from you. But when you need them the most, they are nowhere to be found. As you grow older, the absence of a true, reliable friend becomes even more evident. At this stage of life, you've likely experienced your share of challenges, loss, health problems, or emotional struggles, and during these times, you need people who will be there for you. However, the absent friend is the person who never seems to show up when the times get tough, yet they expect you to be there for them when it's convenient for them. The absent friend tends to drift in and out of your life, sometimes contacting you out of the blue, only to disappear again without any real explanation. They may seem friendly and caring at first, but their actions fail to reflect their words. While they might offer promises of support or claim to be there for you, their actions tell a different story. When you find yourself in need, whether it's a simple favor or emotional support, the absent friend is nowhere to be found. They are busy with their own lives, always caught up in their own problems or interests, unable or unwilling to take the time to be there for you. Over time, you begin to realize that their words are empty, and their friendship is more of a one-way street. What makes the absent friend particularly harmful is the emotional toll they take on you. They may reach out to you when they need something, but when the roles are reversed, you are left feeling isolated and unsupported. You begin to question why you've continued to invest in this relationship when it's clear that they aren't reciprocating. The void left by the absence of genuine care and support can be profoundly discouraging, especially when you realize that you have poured so much energy into a one-sided connection. The absence of someone who truly cares is felt deeply in times of crisis or need, when you would expect those who are closest to you to be there without hesitation. As you age, the need for authentic companionship becomes more important. Life becomes simpler, but the need for true connection and support becomes even more vital. You don't have the energy or the time to waste on relationships that are shallow or transactional. The absent friend doesn't offer the kind of emotional stability that one needs in their later years. Instead, they leave you feeling neglected, unnoticed, and alone. Their inconsistent presence and lack of commitment to the relationship only serve to remind you that true friendship is based on mutual respect, trust, and care, qualities the absent friend cannot provide. Over time, it becomes clear that the absent friend is more of a burden than a blessing. While they may have been a part of your life at one point, their lack of reliability and emotional investment erodes the foundation of the friendship. You begin to see that you deserve more than the sporadic and superficial efforts they make. The absence of support and companionship from someone who should care about you can be incredibly isolating, and it's important to recognize that it's okay to let go of relationships that don't serve your well-being. The later years of life should be filled with those who are present, not just when it's convenient, but who are truly committed to being by your side through both the good and the bad. The drama-filled individual thrives on conflict and turmoil, and their presence in your life can be incredibly draining, especially in your later years. These are the people who bring constant chaos, tension, and unnecessary emotional weight into your world. They seem to have an uncanny ability to create problems where none exist, drawing others into their emotional storms and demanding your attention, time, and energy. The drama-filled individual is never satisfied with peace or stability. They constantly stir up conflict, often over trivial matters, and expect you to become emotionally involved in their disputes. This person will always have a crisis, a new complaint, or a fresh argument that they need to share, pulling you into their whirlwind of chaos, regardless of your desire for calm and serenity. As you age, you become more attuned to the value of peace and simplicity. You realize that your time and emotional energy are finite, and that you should be focused on the things and people that bring you joy, comfort, and stability. The drama-filled individual, however, has no interest in providing any of this. Instead, they draw you into their emotional turbulence, often with no clear purpose other than to feel validated in their ongoing issues. It could be a fight with a family member, a perceived slight at work, or a social situation that they've blown out of proportion. Regardless of the subject, their goal is always the same: to have you be part of their drama, to invest your emotions in their problems, and to make you feel responsible for fixing or managing their chaos. This person may demand your time, emotional labor, and attention, but never offer anything of substance in return. They feed off of the emotional energy of others, and their need to be the center of attention can be exhausting. When you try to offer a solution or perspective, they will often dismiss it, as they are more interested in keeping the drama alive than in resolving it. The drama-filled individual is emotionally manipulative, often making you feel guilty for not being involved or for not offering enough support, even though their problems are largely of their own making. Their need for validation in their emotional distress can quickly turn your own life into a series of crises that you didn't ask for. The real danger of the drama-filled individual is how they can negatively impact your well-being. Their ability to create emotional turbulence can disturb your peace of mind and create unnecessary stress. You might find yourself constantly on edge, trying to manage their problems, only to realize that your own needs and emotions are being neglected in the process. In your later years, when you should be focused on your own health, happiness, and contentment, the presence of a drama-filled person can pull you in directions you never intended to go. Their constant need for emotional involvement can become a toxic cycle that drains you, leaving you feeling overwhelmed and emotionally exhausted. The drama-filled individual will often act as though their life is an ongoing series of crises, and they will expect you to play a part in every single one. Their existence revolves around creating and feeding off of turmoil, and they will often view your desire for peace as a rejection of their need for attention. These individuals often refuse to take responsibility for the situations they create, preferring instead to place blame on others or circumstances. This makes it difficult to have any sort of meaningful or productive relationship with them, as they are not interested in solutions or resolution, only in perpetuating the cycle of drama. The critical judge is someone who will always find fault in everything you do, no matter how hard you try or how much effort you put into your actions. Their presence in your life can be especially challenging in your later years, when you should be focused on enjoying the fruits of your labor, reflecting on your achievements, and embracing the peace that comes with age. Instead, the critical judge is there to constantly remind you of your shortcomings, real or imagined, and to criticize every decision you make. Whether it's the way you dress, the choices you make, or even your lifestyle, they are always ready with a judgment, often without offering any constructive feedback or support. Their criticism can be harsh, cutting, and even destructive, leaving you feeling inadequate and unsure of yourself. In the later stages of life, you've likely come to a place where you want to embrace your true self and celebrate the experiences that have shaped who you are. Yet, the critical judge makes this difficult by highlighting every mistake or perceived flaw. Their critical eye sees only the negative, never offering praise or encouragement for the things you've done right. Their perspective can be so narrow and judgmental that it prevents you from seeing the value of your own actions. Instead of lifting you up, they only bring you down, making you feel that nothing you do is ever enough. This constant stream of negativity can erode your self-esteem and lead to feelings of self-doubt. What's worse is that the critical judge often disguises their harsh remarks as concern or advice. They may frame their criticisms in a way that makes it seem as though they are looking out for your best interests, but in reality, their goal is simply to make you feel inferior or incapable. They offer no encouragement, no recognition of the hard work you've put in, and no understanding of the challenges you face. Instead, they focus on pointing out flaws, often without considering the full context or the circumstances that led to your decisions. This lack of empathy and understanding makes their criticism feel even more painful. In the later years of life, when you should be surrounded by those who appreciate and value you for who you are, the critical judge adds unnecessary stress and anxiety to your life. Their constant disapproval can make you second-guess your choices and feel as though you're constantly falling short. You may start to avoid sharing your thoughts or actions with them because you already know that any attempt to express yourself will be met with criticism. The fear of their judgment can create a rift in the relationship as you begin to withdraw emotionally and psychologically, protecting yourself from their harsh words. The critical judge may also try to compare you to others, making you feel as though you're not measuring up to some ideal standard. These comparisons are often unfair and unrealistic, and they serve only to create a sense of inadequacy. Instead of focusing on your own path and your unique journey, they will try to push you into a mold that doesn't fit, all while highlighting how you fall short. As a result, your relationship with the critical judge becomes one of emotional strain and frustration. You feel as though you can never live up to their expectations, and the relationship becomes more about avoiding their criticism than enjoying any meaningful connection. The manipulator is someone who knows how to twist situations to their advantage, often at your expense. They have a way of making you feel obligated to do things you may not want to do, using guilt, persuasion, or subtle emotional tactics to get their way. As you grow older, you become more vulnerable to their influence because they know how to play on your emotions, especially your sense of duty, kindness, and desire for companionship. The manipulator will often disguise their true intentions under the pretense of love, care, or necessity, making it difficult to see their actions for what they really are. They might present themselves as someone who only wants the best for you, but in reality, they are seeking to control you for their own benefit. The manipulator is skilled at making you feel responsible for their happiness, needs, or problems. They will often exaggerate their difficulties, painting themselves as helpless or in desperate need of your assistance. They will remind you of all the things they have done for you in the past, subtly implying that you owe them something in return. They may even use your own values against you, suggesting that if you truly care, you will comply with their demands. Over time, this dynamic creates a one-sided relationship in which you find yourself constantly giving while they take. Their ability to twist conversations and shift blame makes it difficult to call out their behavior, as they will always have a justification or excuse that makes you feel as though you are the one who is being unreasonable. One of the most dangerous aspects of the manipulator is their ability to make you doubt your own judgment. They may convince you that you are overreacting, misunderstanding, or being selfish when you try to set boundaries. This psychological manipulation can be incredibly harmful, as it erodes your confidence in your ability to make decisions for yourself. You may find yourself agreeing to things you don't want to do simply because they have made you feel guilty or responsible for their well-being. The weight of their influence can become overwhelming, leaving you emotionally drained and unsure of where your own needs and desires fit into the relationship. Manipulators often operate in cycles, alternating between kindness and control. When they sense that you are pulling away or starting to recognize their tactics, they may suddenly become affectionate, offering gestures of care and appreciation to draw you back in. They will make promises to change, to be more understanding, or to respect your boundaries, but these promises are rarely fulfilled. Once they feel secure in their hold over you, the manipulation begins again, creating a repetitive pattern that can be difficult to break. In old age, when you should be surrounded by people who genuinely care for your well-being, the presence of a manipulator can take a significant toll on your peace of mind. Their constant demands and ability to control the emotional atmosphere of your life can leave you feeling trapped and unable to fully enjoy your time. Instead of allowing you to live with freedom and dignity, they impose their will upon you, making it difficult to prioritize your own happiness. Recognizing the manipulator's tactics is the first step in breaking free from their control and reclaiming your ability to make choices based on your own needs rather than their expectations.